I wanted to talk to you guys really quickly, instead of a normal ad, about the very exciting thing that we're launching here at TFD, which is our all-new Patreon. So we are expanding our membership, the Society at TFD, over to Patreon. If you are already a member on YouTube, you don't need to move over. It's not going anywhere. We're just expanding to Patreon with a few additional perks. We have 2 tiers where you can contribute at a $7 or $12 level. You'll get ad-free bonus content, office hours with me, access to our book club, our community on Discord where you can chat about money and other things, plus everything you see listed here. It's important for us as a company to be a self-sustaining machine so that we can continue to cover the topics that are important to us and speak candidly about the things that matter, and supporting us on Patreon is one way to help us do that. You're not just supporting us, you're also getting tons of awesome perks as well. So click the link in our description to join us on Patreon.
I have an exciting one. Well, it's as exciting as this question can be.
If you say this. You can't say this.
My name is Ryn. I'm 27 years old. I'm a solutions architect, and I make $115K a year.
I'm Katie. I'm 26. I work as a development coordinator at a nonprofit, and I make $50K.
And we live in Chicago, Illinois. How do we know each other / how did we meet?
So the really short version is we met in college. We know each other because we currently live together and have for 7 years now, which is crazy. I don't think we liked each other the first time we met.
You didn't like me.
Well, you didn't like me like the third time we met. But long story short, we mended our first year college differences and have lived together forever, and you are my best friend.
Yeah, we ended up living in the same building. Like, we moved out of our dorms, and I lived below her, and we kind of were like, about each other, and then we ended up in the same class together, and then it was like, oh my god, I don't want to hang out with anyone else.
Yeah, truly.
And then basically, like, after a couple of years of living in the same building, we moved in together. We lived there for a couple of years, and then we moved into a current apartment, which we're going into our 5th year living in, 7 years living together.
Yeah, and we have a really cute cat together, so shout out to our cat. So question number 2, what is your rent? And is it average, low, or high for our area?
We pay $1,600, and 5 years ago when we moved in, well, we paid $1,500 then, and it was pretty reasonable. It felt like pretty normal in that area, but now it feels really cheap, especially for the amount of space that we have, and like we have a very good location for where we live in Chicago.
Yeah, I agree. Our apartment is surprisingly spacious for the rent, and it's really well located.
Yeah, extremely. And, like, especially now, because a bunch of stuff moved in.
Oh, I lived there 4 years.
We're going into our 5th year.
Mm-hmm.
How do we share expenses?
I would say we share them pretty evenly. We have this incredible app called Splitwise that we put a lot of, sort of day-to-day expenses in, like meals out or toilet paper or paper towel. But when it comes to rent and utilities, we just split them evenly.
Yeah. Actually, you used to, like, when we made closer to the same amount of money, you used to pay more because you had the bigger room.
That's true.
But now at our rent, it's going up. We're just splitting it evenly.
Well, you also have the office.
Yeah, because I have the office now. But yeah, we do everything together. We eat all our meals together. We go on vacation together. And yeah, we just kind of have like a running tally, but we're not like picky, like, like sometimes like I'll owe you $200 or you'll owe me a few $100s, and we just kind of like know it evens out in the end.
We're not like nickeling and diming each other. We're not precious about it.
Yeah.
All right, Ryn, so tell me, do you have any debt?
No, I do not. Do you have any debt?
I also don't have any debt, thankfully.
I was fortunate enough to not have any debt coming out of college, and since then I'm like pretty rigorous about paying off my credit card.
Yeah, I'm really lucky my parents paid for my college. And yeah, it's a big leg up going into, the workforce, adult life without crippling loans.
Yeah, for sure. What was your financial upbringing like? How was money talked about growing up?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say my parents I wouldn't say they talked about money in a way that was really like, this is what you do. They talked about money sort of virtuously or morally. So like, it's good to save, it's bad to spend. But there was never like an education, like, this is how you invest. This is how you file taxes. So it was like, know the value of the dollar, but what exactly is that? I think I'm definitely becoming more financially literate the older I get. Everyone is, but so I would say my financial upbringing was sort of like vague talks about money, but less like concrete facts. So a lot of learning on the fly as an adult. How about you? What was your financial upbringing?
Yeah, I think it was like a pretty generic, just like you should save money. I don't think we ever really talked about investing.
Yeah.
I mean, like I think I knew what a 401k was sort of abstractly, but I think just the idea was always just like you should save money and that's what you should be doing. So I think, I got a savings account when I was quite young. My parents like gave me an allowance that I had to earn through my chores, and then like I wouldn't get any other money. But at the same time, I feel like we didn't really talk about it. It was just kind of like our lifestyle was considered the default. And I think like I obviously like grew up very well off, but my parents didn't really like it was, I think, a little upsetting for them to consider that they were like rich or they were doing well.
Sure.
And, they would compare themselves to other people because their priorities were sort of like having nice meals, education. It wasn't important for them to have a fancy house or a fancy car, things like that. So they would look at people with those things and they would be like, well, we're not like that. So
oh my God, no, my parents would be the same. I think it's like generational too, though. Like you don't talk about money, and if you do, it's like those people are garish with it, as opposed to,
Oh, yeah. And it's like, so it was like, oh, we were comfortable. And like, I think sometimes they would be like, oh, like kind of emphasize, like, you're lucky.
Yeah.
But I think they're like much more comfortable now kind of admitting it. I think they've gotten used to it over time. But
settled into the
I would say like financially I grew up extremely comfortable. And there was definitely an emphasis on saving, but in terms of like investing my money or doing anything else with that, I've kind of had to figure that. And like even like credit cards and things like that, I've definitely had to figure out pretty much on my own as an adult.
Well, I think you're doing great.
Thank you. I think you are too.
Well, you're helping me be more financially literate.
Yeah.
All right, so I have to ask you, I need to know, what are your long-term career goals?
To go on Survivor. Jeff Probst, call me. I think like at my last job, so I just started this job like 8 months ago. And at my last job, I was there for 3.5 years, and I started super entry level. And I was like, my first year or two, I was not particularly concerned. I was just happy to work from home, do something that was relatively easy. But as I started getting more responsibility and kind of caring more, I was like very focused on getting the next promotion, like making more money. I had kind of a clear idea of where I was going. And then I switched to this role. I got a huge raise, but I was back at the bottom of the company. But I hope my boss doesn't see this, but I feel very comfortable where I am now. And so I guess, I want to keep on doing this. I want to keep on growing my skills. I'm sure eventually I'd like to go into like management again, because I was at management in my last role and I really enjoyed like people managing and working with people, but I'm not super pressed. I would say my goals are more focused personally and on living my life and enjoying my life with the now very handsome salary that I have. And I feel like happy now where I am for a little while.
So your career goal is to hang.
Yeah, basically. What about you?
What's my career goal?
Yeah.
Well, I just started a new job, my current job, about a month ago. So having a career was a goal, and I achieved that. Really excited. For the longest time, I wanted like a really like sexy job. I wanted to work in like poetry or something glamorous. Now I'm just working for an organization that raises money for cancer research. It's something I believe in, something I'm really happy about. So I think just doing a good job at the job I'm doing.
Yeah.
Really honing my development skills, raising money, and continuing to be of use, for a cause that's good.
Yeah, those are my goals too.
It's my turn, I think.
No, you just asked me about my financial goals.
I did just ask you about your financial goals. Okay, it's your turn.
You want to go again?
No, I don't. No, okay. I know. We have an order to things.
What is currently your biggest financial burden?
One of my biggest expenses, I guess, is like rent. I need to get a new car too. I'm hoping my parents will help me with it, but I'm 26 and they probably won't. I would say the biggest sort of like big picture burden is while I was unemployed, I depleted a lot of my savings, and I want to sort of get that back up to a number that, feels like a safe cushion. Again, I'm really lucky. I don't have debt. My parents supported me through college. They paid my rent when I was unemployed. Very, very lucky in that regard. So thankfully don't have like big financial onuses. But yeah, I'd love to make my savings fund robust again.
I mean, the biggest thing I have to spend money on every month is rent.
Yeah.
Well, probably this vacation is probably what I'm going to be spending the most money on this month. But I will say, like, our rent is small enough that it doesn't feel like a burden. Even when I was making less money, like, and I mean, I'm going to start paying a little bit more now that our rent's gone up. But again, yeah, it doesn't feel like a huge burden. So, but yeah, it would be rent. That's what I pay the most money on, or like the food that we eat.
We eat a lot of food.
Yeah, but I guess I don't have a lot of financial burdens, fortunately.
But yeah, I was going to say that's a good thing.
Yeah,
you're in a good situation. How do you handle feelings of professional envy?
I don't tend to have a lot of feelings because I feel like I definitely see it a lot in other people, but I try not to put myself in my job or put my worth in my job. So if I see someone in a position where I feel like I should be in that position or I could be in that position, I think what I do is I like try to work to get to that. And if I can't get that at my current job, I'll move jobs, which is what I did most recently. But I think outside of that, my goals and my aspirations lie outside of my career. So if I'm making a good salary, if I feel like and it's still important for me to do good at the job that I'm doing, but if I'm doing that, I'm able to pay my living expenses. I'm able to live the kind of life I want to live. I think I'm okay if, like, for instance, like, I know that I make probably the least amount of money at my company, and that's all right with me. Like, okay, I make enough money to survive.
That's so zen. I love it.
How do you deal with feelings of professional envy?
I don't know if I have like direct professional envy. Like, I don't look at my boss and I say, I wish I was my boss, But I definitely like sometimes feel behind my peers. I had a big time being a long time of unemployment. I get a little jealous of people who are like really crushing it at my age. I think I just try and use that as motivation, or just sort of like examine why I feel that. I don't know if I'm taking that and like becoming the best I can be, but I'm trying to say like, hey, well then just work really hard at what you're doing now, or, examine why you feel that. Basically, I talked to my therapist about it, and hopefully we come to a good conclusion.
Yeah.
Do you have any savings/investments? What is your best saving strategy?
I do have savings/investments. I think overall I have a little under $50K between my savings and my investments. Mm-hmm. My savings strategy is a percentage of my paycheck automatically goes in my 401k every month, and then I try and put a certain amount in my savings account every month as well, because I'm trying to like build up a larger emergency fund. I feel like for a long time people were like 10K should be your emergency fund, but I don't know. I feel like 10K is not 3 months of living expenses for me sometimes. So, so I've just been trying to like build that up as well, like kind of half-heartedly. I try and put a certain amount in there, and then if I meet that certain amount in my savings account and I still have a little extra left over at the end of the month, then I'll put that in another investment account, which is languishing a little bit currently.
You have like a direct investment account, right? That you were...
Yeah, I have like 2.
I remember in the pandemic, you started really getting serious about it.
Yeah, I have one. Well, yeah, in the pandemic, I wasn't spending any money, so it's crazy. I was like making half the amount of money I'm making now, but somehow I was able to save twice as much. But, so I had like one, they're just robo investing accounts. So I had like one with Ellevest, and then I just opened one with my company does their 401k, so Betterment. That's like, I'm kind of over the Ellevest one, so I opened a new one.
You've grown.
Right back at you.
I wish I was, we might get to that later actually with financial regrets. I wish I was like more serious about investments. I have a Roth IRA that I've been contributing to for the past 5-6 years. I try and max out the contribution every year. I do that either pulling from savings or from what I'm making at work. It's really boring. Otherwise, I don't have any like individual investment accounts. That's something I think I should start doing and regret not having done earlier. Yeah.
How much do you have? I said, no pressure.
Right now, I depleted my savings pretty significantly while I was unemployed. So I have a savings account with about 8,000 in it. Regret how low it got, but still happy I have that. I have about 15K in my Roth IRA. And in another savings account, I have about 20K. So
a very, very respectable amount.
I know, but I want to be ahead. I want to be excelling. I want to be investing. And I'll watch the financial...
You're being a little too hard on yourself there.
I'll watch the financial diet. I'll learn how to invest.
I'm curious about this one for you. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self any piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Financial advice?
It just says advice.
I think I would tell myself to be a little less precious about employment. I think for a really long time, I thought I have to find the perfect job, the career that either absolutely fits me or that I could sort of merge my identity into. Like I could go to a party and be like, and I'm a literary editor. And then people would be like, that's so cool. But I think sort of what you do and how you make money shouldn't be something that's collapsed onto you as a person. And I really think I could have told that to 18-year-old me so I could be a little more realistic about the career I'm looking for. And also, it just takes a lot of pressure off. You could find a job, be good at it, enjoy it, and not have it be your entire life.
That's really good advice.
Yeah. I wish I could tell myself that.
It reminds me of this lady on TikTok that I've been getting, and she actually, I don't know what her deal is, but I thought that what she said was really good. She was like, when you're starting a new job, people tend to look for what's the kind of job I want to have, mm-hmm. Who do I want to be, and then this job is going to make me that person, something like that. And she was like, instead, look for what you find easy to do, mm-hmm. because somebody else won't find it easy. And if you do what you find easy to do, that's how you're going to find success in your career, because you're going to be an expert in that area. And I feel like that's kind of where you're going with your current role, because we were talking about this yesterday, and you were like, I really just feel like I have the right set of soft skills for this specific job. And it wasn't the job 2 or 3 years ago when we were talking about what kind of job you wanted, you had in mind, but maybe it's actually a really good fit for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I love that TikTok because it's it hits the nail on the head. It's what you can do, what you can develop, trying to sort of mold yourself into something that, isn't out there, isn't possible, isn't the best, but developing what you have within you, finding a way to make that personally, professionally useful. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. What advice would you give little baby Ryn? 18-year-old Ryn. 5 pound, 6 ounce Ryn.
She would not have listened. Not for 1 second. 18-year-old me was going to do what 18-year-old me was going to do. And honestly...
Can we reveal a little bit of 18-year-old you?
I took a gap year before I went to college, and I lived on my own in
Hot
DC.
Off the Occupy Wall Street, or Occupy
I was
DC,
a little teenage anarchist, and I lived on my own, and I worked in a restaurant, and I was broke, and I was not right in the head, and I just would not have, I literally got a tattoo when I was 18 to be this is going to stick it to the corporate shill I'm going to become. But I like that tattoo still. So, just keep doing what you're doing. Have a great time.
How do you handle money differently than your parents? But more importantly, how do you handle it similarly?
That was a great podcast voice there.
I tried.
So... how do I handle it differently? I think I'm more active about investing. I mean, I also think now that there are more online resources and online banks and stuff like that. So I've been trying to talk my parents and my sister into getting a high yield savings account and stuff like that, where it's I'm
You've been aggressively trying to talk your sister.
Investments,
mm-hmm.
but I'm not sure. So I think that's like the main difference. And even like with credit cards, like I have a rewards card, like they just have whatever they had from their credit union. How am I the same though? Like I think I still have a focus on like saving. I think I have like a strong sense of how much money I always have. So, and then I also think I have like a similar laxity or a similar like interest in like eating out or like having a good time and like living a good life and like not attaching my worth to my job, but seeing my job as a means to an end, to live the kind of life I want. I think my parents, especially my mom, very much like had that same mentality. So I would say that's how I'm similar. Another thing about difference is I just talk about it a lot more, and I'm like share a lot more with my friends, and I'm pretty open about like how much I make or how we're saving, and that's something like we all talk about a lot.
And I think that's a good thing, by the way. Like the taboos around money make it really hard to have any education around money.
Yeah, exactly.
But also just like hard for you to contextualize yourself like in your social world, in your personal life. Like it shouldn't be this like locked away thing that we can't speak about. So I think my parents are very well off. They're both attorneys in the Detroit area. They're crushing it, top of their fields. And thankfully, I think they do have a lot of savings. I don't know if they would see it that way. My parents are people who are like in the traditional like well-off parents world. They're well off, but they don't think they are. And they have a lot of money anxiety.
Yeah.
So my parents are saving a lot. They don't spend often. Obviously, they will spend on me. I'm incredibly grateful of them helping with college, rent, etc. But they don't spend on themselves. So like there'll be something falling apart in their house. They won't fix it. Or they'll have these really big, dreams of taking a vacation or buying a new fence, and they won't do it. And that'll cause them deep, deep anxiety on top of the anxiety of already not having enough money. I think that's a habit I'm really glad that I broke out of. I clearly am not making a seasoned attorney salary, but I'm trying to be sort of more relaxed with what I have, what's practical, how I spend. I want to save, but I'm not going to sort of use not saving as a cudgel to beat myself with,
Or like not live your life.
Exactly, or not live my life. My parents like really stress themselves out, work really hard, and again, I admire that in them. I admire their determination, their drive, their practicality. But I think I have a better. I think I found sort of a more middle ground that's a lot more appropriate. But my parents are really cool. They're great. I feel
they are. We love
bad.
you, Julie, Robert. This is a short one. If one of us couldn't make rent for whatever reason, how would we handle it?
I think the other would pay rent.
Yeah, I think we would just cover it. And I mean, yeah, until you could pay rent again. But I think it's an unlikely situation because I feel like your parents would. And if I didn't make rent, I think I would go to my parents first before you.
Yeah, but also I feel like we're close enough that it's like we would support each other if needed.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like that's a better question for people who are like just roommates.
Yeah. I think just given that our Splitwise tab flip-flops so variably.
All right. What money habits should you keep from when you didn't earn as much as you do now, and what money habits did you get rid of from that time?
I think saving. To be honest, I think I spend very similarly, and now I save more. I think, as soon as I hit 50K or, 55K, I was like, oh, my God, I'm so rich. And I just immediately started spending like that. And I would always, I always automatically had things going into my 401k, and I would have my, savings, my emergency fund that would fluctuate. So I think now I can just save more money. And what did I get rid of? Well, we got a cleaning person, which has just coming once a month, but that has drastically improved our life my life, in my opinion.
I feel very fancy, almost too fancy with it. Kind of similar for me. I would say, I'm going to say that this is a saving habit. It might just be me being a really neurotic person. But I've always been was kind of selective about the things I would buy. I wanted to make sure I was getting. Well, you look at me, okay.
No, go ahead, sorry.
Well, I think I spent too much money on food and clothing.
Oh, you want you were selective in that you wanted to get nice things, not you didn't buy a lot of stuff.
Yeah, or like remember how I bought like 3 pairs of wireless headphones and
Oh,
returned
yes.
them?
Yeah, okay.
And how I
Yes,
crashed
yes.
my car in December and still don't have a new car because I'm like I need to do all
Yeah,
of the
okay,
research.
yes, I
Like,
understand what you're saying
Like
now.
it's selective in terms of like what I am investing in
Yeah.
because I want it to be good and last.
Yeah.
No, I buy so much stupid. Am I allowed to say on this? So it's fine. But yeah, that might just be a personality flaw and not an investment tactic.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I think I also want to get nice things.
Or just like the correct
Or like,
thing.
yeah, like something that's gonna
And I think when I
last
was
a long
making
time.
fewer purchases than I am now, it was
Yeah.
definitely like it needs to be good. Now I also am buying some bad things, but like, you know, definitely being doing the research on what I buy.
But who went last? You did. Okay,
I did, so it's your turn.
What do you wish people who want to join your industry would know?
Oh, I'm kind of new in my industry. I've worked in nonprofits. I worked at a temple for a long time. This is my first month working in nonprofit directly, like fundraising, rather than general, like marketing, communications, development. I don't know if this is just sort of a rule of thumb for the industry that I've learned, which is like the sort of relationships you make sometimes matter if as much, if not more, than the funds that you raise. So it's like developing these connections and also sort of like etching out a space for you in different like communities, social spaces, etc. So just sort of knowing like how valuable the soft social skills are, and knowing that fundraising isn't just, you know, going up to people and being like, please give me money. You know, how about you? How does one become a solutions architect? What should someone know?
Oh my gosh. Don't ask me what I do. I work at a tech startup and I was an English major. I'm not a software engineer. And I think people think that if you want to work in tech, you need to be a software engineer or have some kind of technical degree or some kind of like specific skill. But there's a ton of jobs that are literally just like, are you good with people? Are you organized? Can you learn quickly? And if you can get in an entry-level position in one of those jobs, which is what I did at my last company, you learn like a ton on the job. And it's really about being adaptable, a fast learner, organized, and just like being able to organize people. So if you want to join tech, like you don't have to go to a boot camp. You're not going to make as much money as a software engineer, but like there's plenty of money to be made there for us English majors.
Have you ever successfully negotiated a raise? And I know you have.
Yeah, I have a couple times at my last role. Yeah, I mean, there were a few times. I think the first big raise was about a year and a half in. I was doing it was a startup, so I was doing way more than my role. My boss was going on maternity leave. I was about to take on a bunch of extra work, and I got what my yearly raise would be, and I was like, this is not enough for what I'm doing. One of my coworkers who was in a similar position got basically the same offer. So we talked together and we made a plan. And we ended up, because my boss was gone, we were talking to the CEO about it. Again, tiny little startup. And we were like, this isn't enough. We laid out everything we did. And we were like, we need more. He came back, he gave us $7,000 more. And then a couple years later, after I'd gone through a few promotions, I was getting promoted to management. And I already knew that they weren't going to offer me enough. They didn't. And so I went back and I was like, this is not really enough for what I'm going to be doing. They came back and offered me like $5,000 more, which was not quite what I wanted. And I didn't really feel like I was in a position that I could ask for more. So I basically accepted it. But 4 months later, I did end up leaving for my current role because I knew I could get more money, and just an amazing opportunity presented itself. What about you?
I have never negotiated a raise.
Cool.
Someday. I'll ask for your wisdom.
How did you get your job?
I applied. No, I had nonprofit experience. I was familiar specifically with the nonprofit I'm working for. I think that really helped, being able to go in and not just be passionate about the cause, but, you know, have some knowledge of the institution. On top of that, I think, I don't know, I made my interviewer laugh. I charmed board members.
You killed it.
Yeah, I also think this is kind of lame. The organization I work for has some affiliation with my college, and I think having gone there really helped. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's a boring answer. I applied.
I have an exciting one. Well, it's as exciting as this question can
Sued
be.
if you say this. You can't say this.
So at my last company, there was a girl who had left about a year and a half ago to start a new job. She was getting a big raise. She left. She moved to that job. She still lived in Chicago. We were still friends. I kept in touch with her. And I saw, 9 months ago, she posted about a job at her current company on LinkedIn. I read the job description. I was like, that is everything I do. I'm like exactly qualified for this job. I reached out and basically started going through the interview process, and then I got the job. So it was the only job I applied for because I wasn't really looking. It was just like a very specific role. I knew someone, I had an in, and at this company, like the vast majority of people are referrals because it's another small startup. But it's really worked out, and it's been great coming in and working because I work so closely with this girl, like working with someone I had already worked with. So, and then 2 other people from our company did end up coming and working at this company now. Oh, is that it?
Yeah, there was this one, but it was like really redundant. It was, how do we talk about money?
Oh, like this.
Yeah. On the financial diet.
Yeah, with question and answer sessions. Okay, well, it was great talking with you.
Yeah, it was great getting to know you.
I'll see you later.
Yeah, I hope we get to meet again, probably at the drink we're getting after this.
Yeah, or the show we're going to.
Yeah, I'll never forget you.
I love you.
Oh, I love you too.